In this AlignMix video, you will learn how to move your sales territory label from the largest part of a territory to the second or third or even smaller parts of that territory. By default, the sales territory label will always appear in the center of the largest part of that territory. If you've got smaller non-contiguous areas, then you can move that sales territory label to those smaller parts, but they have to be in non-contiguous areas. One of our best examples of this situation occurs in North Seattle. Typically, companies will assign Alaska to that North Seattle area, and when that happens, the label will appear in the center over Alaska because that's the largest part of that territory. So here you will see that Northern Seattle area does not have a label on it, but we can force that label to shift from the Alaska portion to hover over here in Seattle. And to do that, you simply right-click on Seattle, click on Properties, and then you can click here on the Set Clicked button. And now that label will shift from where it was in the center of Alaska to now be centered here in that blue Seattle area. And then you simply click OK, and that's how you've moved that label. You can also move it to smaller areas that are non-contiguous. So let's take, for example, this Idaho-Montana territory, and I'll create a little portion of that territory over here. Let's click on Next, and now let's find that Idaho territory. Here we go, and click on Next. So let's say we want to shift that Idaho-Montana label to this smaller area, and we would do that by right-clicking on that portion of that territory, and then click on Properties. And from here, we can either click up and down to set it to label in part maybe 2, click on OK, and now you can see that label has shifted over here. If we wanted to bring it back, we can right-click on the main portion of that territory, click on Properties, and we can either change this to a number 1 so that it would show the label in the number 1 largest part of that territory, or you can click here on Set Clicked, and it'll shift that label back to where it was, and then click on OK. So as a reminder, that sales territory label will always appear in the largest part of that territory right in the center of it. For areas like Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and even Alaska, it'll always appear in the center of that large mass. So if you can't see those territory labels, it may be hovering over that island. And then you'll simply have to right-click on that territory and move it to the other largest land piece of that territory. And there you go. You've just learned how to move your territory labels here in AlignMix.